Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to Yoga Certification Board's Yoga Wellness Instructor course, section number 2.8. The topic of the day, Bahiranga Yoga of Maharshi Patanjali. So this is a main topic, Bahiranga Yoga of Maharshi Patanjali. Patanjali Maharshi contributed certain specific things to the humanity. One is Yoga Shastra. The other one is writing the commentary on Panini's Sanskrita Vyakarana Sutras. The third one is contributing in Ayurveda, like a Charaka Samhita and other things. So most important thing in our life is the alignment of body, mind and speech, which is very, very important. So to purify our body, Patanjali Maharshi contributed Ayurveda. To purify our speech, to get the perfection in our speech, Patanjali Maharshi given the commentary on Panini Sutras, which is called Mahabhashyam. And to train our mind, to purify our mind, Patanjali Maharshi given this Yoga Sutras. We really don't know, is the same Patanjali who contributed all these three or different Patanjalis? Because no one can prove and no one can say this is this. So hence, by the benefit of doubt, in our tradition, we have given contribution, that creditability to the Patanjali Maharshi, thinking the only one Patanjali Maharshi. Then there is a beautiful sloka. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopa karottam pravaram muninam Patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi. This is the prayer dedicated to the Patanjali Maharishi. So in this, we will be discussing the Yoga Sutras, because the topic we are under discussion is Patanjali Yoga Sutras. We have started in the previous class and we are continuing as per our syllabus. And the specific contribution within the yoga is, one is Kriya Yoga, a special contribution by Patanjali Maharshi. The term itself is coined by Patanjali Maharshi, which is called Kriya Yoga. That is the topic in the second chapter. Then the other topic is Ashtanga Yoga. And within this Ashtanga Yoga, it is further divided into the two sections. This Ashtanga Yoga further divided into the two sections. One is called Bahiranga Yoga, other one is called Antaranga Yoga. When we say Ashtanga Yoga, Ashta means 8, Anga means limbs. So 8 limbs yoga, Ashtanga. So among these 8 limbs, first 5 limbs comes under Bahiranga Yoga. Then next 3 limbs or last 3 limbs comes under Antaranga Yoga. Ashtanga is only one topic, but Ashtanga is having the further divisions for the convenience point of view. Otherwise, it's only one topic. And also please make a note, Ashtanga Yoga is also called Raja Yoga. Basically, the entire Patanjali Yoga Sutras are called Raja Yoga Sutras. Raja Yoga means Patanjali Yoga only. But to be specific, Ashtanga Yoga is also called Raja Yoga. Who named this as a Raja Yoga? Patanjali is given as Ashtanga Yoga. Patanjali is given as a Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Then from where it started as a Raja Yoga or Raja Yoga Sutras is a part of your syllabus. Comes once in a while in the exam also. Who popularized the Yoga Sutras as a Raja Yoga Sutras, or who popularized the Ashtanga Yoga as the Raja Yoga? The answer is Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda popularized this yoga as a Raja Yoga because it is a royal path. Why it is a royal path? It includes all other yogas. Jnana Yoga is included here in the Yoga Sutras. Swadhyaya. Bhakti Yoga is included in the Yoga Sutras. Ishvara Pranidhana. And mind management itself is a part of the main theme of the Raja Yoga. And Karma Yoga is included in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras with the terms tapas and santosha. All these things covers the Karma Yoga topic. Hence, it is also called Raja Yoga. So now today's our topic, first 5 limbs of the Ashtanga Yoga, which are Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara. These 5 points let us discuss. Most of the translations, when you are reading some books, you will see that Yama means don'ts, Niyama means do's. So I am not going with this idea of Yama means don'ts, Niyama means do's, because it is not correct. Why it is not correct? Under the Yama, we are in the 5 points. Ahimsa, Satya. Ahimsa is given and Satya is given. And people talks about the don'ts. Means you should not speak the truth, because it is coming under the don'ts. So don't speak the truth. That is not the proper way to understand the Yoga Sutras. So let us understand them properly. Yama means universal commandments. Yama means universal commandments, how one has to live in the society. How one has to live in the society. When you want to, the society should be in a harmony, our social life should be in a harmony. These are the things we need to follow. The second limb, Niyama. Niyama means personal disciplines. Niyama means the personal disciplines, how one has to live for one's own self to reach the goal. Then third limb, which is called asana. Asana means posture. What is the posture? We will see. Then fourth limb, pranayama. Pranayama means control of the prana, or in a best way, gaining the mastery over the prana. That is called pranayama. Then pratyahara, the last limb of Bhairanga Yoga. What is pratyahara? Pratyahara is withdrawing the senses from their sense objects. This is called pratyahara. So these are the 5 points. Now let us discuss elaborately. And this Yama Niyamas, I will just discuss very briefly. I will not go much, because we are having the one more topic, exclusively one topic is there. The concept of mental well-being according to Patanjali Yoga. There comes the Yama Niyamas. Hence, we will reserve this topic, Yama Niyamas, for the more discussion in the next topic. But in this topic also, today also, we will see the meanings. So under the Yama, there are 5 limbs are given by the Patanjali Maharshi. That comes Sutra number 30 of chapter number 2. about the yamas. And this Ashtanga Yoga is introduced in the Sutra number 29, chapter 2. So let us see the yama. Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha, Yamaha. Yamaha means the plural. Yama means a singular. Yamaha means a plural. So the universal commandments. What are those universal commandments? You can also say universal commandments, or you can also say vows. Number one, ahimsa. Ahimsa means non-violence. Non-violence. Not to hurt anyone. This ahimsa has to be practiced in the threefold. Through your actions, you should not hurt others. Through your speech, you should not hurt others. In your thoughts also, you should not hurt others. That is the ahimsa. Then satya. Satya means a truthfulness. That means don't speak the lies. That is satya, truthfulness. Asteya. Asteya means non-stealing. Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means continuance or celibacy. This is celibacy or continuance. You can take the meaning right now, but more we will discuss about all these points in the next topic, in the next lesson. Aparigraha. Aparigraha means not to be greedy. Aparigraha, not to be greedy. So these 5 points put together, these 5 values put together, called Yamaha. Then next comes Niyamaha. How many Niyamas are given by the Patanjali Maharshi? Again, there are 5 Niyamas. They are Shaucha. It is not a Saucha, it is a Shaucha. Shaucha. Cleanliness. Purity. The cleanliness should be at your body level, in your speech, in your mind also. Then Santosha. Contentment. Tapaha. Tapaha means this tapaha, to translate to you, tapaha is a tapas, but how can I say? Okay, the tapas is time being you just to take a specific task to reach the goal. The more clearly we will learn in the when I am dealing exclusively this topic. Or you can take mortification. Mortification. That is a tapas. Then swadhyaya.
Is it austerity also?
Austerity also we can take. Yes, austerity. Tapas also can be said austerity. And swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means a self-study. Self-study does not mean that I will take a newspaper and I will read the newspaper. I am studying by my own self. That is not the self-study here. What is self-study? Swa means your own self. Adhyayana means study. Adhyayana, that which helps me to know about my own self. That is called self-study. That which helps me to know about my own self. So whatever the studies you do for that purpose, so that is called swadhyaya. Even japa also can be a swadhyaya. 5th point, Ishvara Pranidhana. Surrender to the God. Surrender to the Almighty. Ishvara Pranidhana, surrender to the Almighty. So these are the 5 niyamas. And whatever the meanings you have taken now, don't jump into the conclusions, just to keep it them. Because in the specific topic, when it comes, I will be discussing about these 10 points more elaborately. Then you can have the conclusions. But time being, don't jump into the conclusions. Whatever the meanings I have given to you, just to keep it with you. That much is enough. If someone asks you what are the Yaman Yamas, just you give these 10 points and with their meanings, that is enough. But for understanding point, the next one more lesson is there, that time we will see. Okay. The third limb is called asana. What do you mean by asana? Sutra number 46, second chapter, defines the asana. Sthira Sukham Asanam. Sthira Sukham Asanam is a definition. Sthira means firm. Sukha means comfortable. So, in which posture you are firm and comfortable, that is called asanam. Patanjali Maharshi is not discussing any number of asanas. Patanjali Maharshi just gives the definition of the asana, the concept of the asana. Sometimes you may get a question. According to Patanjali Yoga Sutras, how many asanas are mentioned in Patanjali Yoga Sutras? How many asanas are mentioned in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras? And options will be given 15, 12, 36 or none of the above. But Patanjali is not mentioned any asanas. None of the above is the answer. Okay. Patanjali Maharshi just defined the asana. Sthira Sukham Asanam. So here, let us take the opportunity to discuss a little bit more here. Asanas, or which we can call as a postures, a congenial to the quieten the mind and position to silence and to calm the mind, which comes under the Bahiranga Yoga. And there is some, when the asana topic comes, it is better to know certain physical exercises, what are those and what are the benefits from the physical exercises. You all better in this one. Okay. Then tips to the asanas. How to practice the asanas? It should be slow, relaxed practice, and relax between the asanas. Avoid speed and jerks, and blissful awareness. Not how many, but how is the relaxation, that is important. And it should be, you need to have the proper order and planned schedule and avoid overstrain and experience the pleasurable pain, comfortable, suitable and loose dress, and you need to maintain sufficient gap between the food and asana practice, well ventilated and in a mat avoiding during the fever. And here one question comes in the exam, why we need to use the yoga mat? Why can't we do the asanas directly on the floor? So you should know that answer. Can anyone give the answer why we should not do the practice directly on the floor?
Because it gets absorbed by the earth and the energy. While doing asana, it's like a prayer. We gain certain energy which should not get absorbed. So they used to tell that certain kind of element, while doing asana, you should use. It is mentioned kusa grass and other things like that. But now it is while doing asana, we cannot use that. But what exact quality we should use, that we want to know also, so that we get the maximum benefit, so there is no wastage of our energy. Yeah.
So if you practice the asanas directly on the floor by the gravitation, the energy will be taken out from your body. Simple example. So when you are touching the electricity wire with bare foot, when you are standing on the floor, you will get the shock. But if you use any condenser kind of thing like a slippers or any plastic, then if you touch the electricity wire, you don't get the shock, electric shock, because it avoids. Similarly, the same way, when you use this yoga mat, there should be something, there should not be direct contact to your body and to the floor. And one more thing, while practicing the asanas, your body will be slowly getting some kind of a warmness in the body. But if you are practicing directly on the floor, that warmness also goes down. It will be absorbing everything. So there are so many other reasons. Just I mentioned one or two, and Amma also is given something that is a good enough for you. Then next, if classification of the asanas, there are four classifications: standing asanas, sitting asanas, pronasanas, and uttana asanas. These are the four different classifications of the asanas. Any asana you take, how we will know that under which category it comes? For example, Shirshasana is there. And the four classification, the Shirshasana is not there. So how to know? In a simple way, what is your starting point? Starting posture for any asana. So that starting posture is considered that particular pose comes under that particular classification. So this is also very important point sometimes, okay? Because in exam we don't know what comes. And how these asana names are came? There are so many asanas names. How the asanas names are coming? There are 84 lakhs of asanas. How these 84 lakhs of asanas came? Asanas are the imitation of the nature. There are some asanas, vrikshasana, which is resembling like a tree. Hence, it is called vrikshasana. There is a kakasana, which imitating the birds. Mayurasana and makarasana. These are the asanas taken from the bird. So there are some asanas based on the birds, based on the animals, based on the nature. And there are some asanas based on the benefits. Based on the benefits of the asanas, the asana name is given. Can you tell the name of this one asana, that which is named based on the benefits? So this is your homework. All of you think, and let me tell you in the next class.
So Shirshasana?
Shirshasana is not based on the benefits of the asana.
Sarvangasana.
Perfect, ma. So Sarvangasana is the asana which is named based on the benefits. Sarva angasya prayojanani. Hence, it is a Sarvangasana. And in the English, many people translate, not many people, all the people, shoulder stand, shoulder stand. One time this question came in the exam. What is the literal meaning of the Sarvangasana? And four options are given. Among the four options, one of the option is a shoulder stand. Then one option is all limbs posture, and two other options. So many people, not many, 99% of the people chosen the option as a shoulder stand, they lost their mark. Literal meaning, you need to read the question very carefully in the exam. You may be smart, but our smartness should not be projected immediately. We have to read the question 1 to 2 times at least before you choose the answer. Otherwise, after the exam, you will come out and you say, oh my God, I did this one, I did that one. Okay. So let us see the next related to the asanas. Yogic exercises. Now types. These asanas, also cultural asanas, meditative asanas, and relaxation asanas. What are the cultural asanas? Name, I would like to hear some names. Except from Amma, not from Amma. They can give some answers. Just one or two names for the cultural asana.
Natarajasana. Natarajasana.
Natarajasana. Okay. One more.
Padmasana.
Okay. See, cultural asanas, generally you, of course, Natarajasana can be a cultural asana. That which cultures our body and mind. Cultural asanas, all the asanas can come here. Then other type of the asanas are meditative asanas. What are the meditative asanas? So you can say Padmasana and Vajrasana. But according to Hatha Yoga Pradipika, some 5 meditative asanas are given. So remember those names, that is good enough. Then the third one, relaxation asanas, like a Makarasana, Shavasana. Even though these are given like a categories, but one thing please make a note, ultimate goal of all these asanas to be able to meditate. Even though initially we can say this is a relaxation asana, this is a meditative asana, this is a cultural asana, but ultimate goal is in every asana you should able to do the meditation. Then only Ananta Samapatti, which Patanjali Maharshi says, that will come to us. So these are the little bit background of the asanas. Now here comes, after the asana, a question is raised by a student to the Patanjali Maharshi. What is that question? Patanjali Maharshi, you says that every asana finally should be able to do the meditation, and you say Stiram Sukham Asanam. But you know, when I am practicing the asanas, the moment when I reach into the asana, I am getting my legs are cramped, my body is aching. I cannot able to maintain the asana more than a few seconds. What is the solution for that? Patanjali says, practice makes person perfect. Prayatna Shaitilya Ananta Samapattibhyam. Prayatna Shaitilya Ananta Samapattibhyam. Prayatna, effort. Shaitilya, relaxation. By the effort and relaxation, Ananta, endless, Samapattibhyam, we will reach the meditation state. Now here comes, when we can call a asana, there is something called asana siddhi. I think you might have been heard this one, asana siddhi. You know when we will get the asana siddhi? When you are able to maintain any asana for 4 hours with the sthira sukham, then you will be called master of that particular asana. So whatever the siddhis, whatever the attributes which are associated with that particular asana, one can gain those asanas. When you practice the 4 hours Sthira Sukham asana, it is not for the 1 minute and 2 minutes. Of course, to maintain the physical health, healthy body, even you maintain the few seconds and come back and do the other asanas, that is okay. You will get the benefits. But I am talking about the siddhi of that particular asana. And one more point which I missed in the previous classification, there are some asanas which are named after certain rishis. Can anyone give anyone asana name? Very good, Rashmi ji, Ardhamaschendra asana. I can hear even though you are in a mute. So Ardhamaschendra asana is a name taken from the Rishi who used to practice the full Matsyendra. What you said is only Ardhamaschendra. This is only half. The full is different. Because the full is so difficult, people started doing only half. So hence it is called Ardhamaschendra asana. Okay. The next comes, what are the benefits if I practice these asanas? When I say what are the benefits if I practice this asana means when I gain the siddhi of the asana. When one get the siddhi of the asana, what is that benefit? Apart from the attributes which are associated with that asana. There are something else. That is given sutra number 48. Tato dvandva anabhigataha. Tato dvandva anabhigataha. Tato means tataha. Tataha means from that, from mastery of the asana, dvandva, pairs of opposites, anabhigataha, you will not get disturbed by these pairs of opposites. What are the pairs of opposites? Like a heat and cold, pain and pleasure. These are called pairs of opposites. So one will be free from dvandvas. That is the idea. Then next comes the fourth limb, pranayama. What is the pranayama? Patanjali Maharshi is defining the pranayama in the sutra number 49. Please look at the sutra number 49. Tasmin sati shvasa prashvasayoho gati vichedaha pranayamaha. Tasmin sati. Tasmin sati means after establishing in the asana, tasmin sati gati vichedaha. Gati means the direction or a movement. Vichedaha means a changing or breaking. Tasmin sati shvasa prashvasa yoho gatir vichedaha. Shvasa prashvasa means inhalation and exhalation. So once you establish in the asana, then when you can able to change the direction of your inhalation and exhalation, that is called pranayama, regulation of the breath. What is the meaning of the vicheda, changing the direction? Let us understand this point. What happens in our breath, it is the opposite. Any time other than yogis, for a normal person, if you observe your breath, putting the finger under your nose, any one nostril will be dominating. Both nostrils, the inhalation, exhalation is not equal. One is predominantly dominating over the other nostril, and this will keep on changes once in a while after specific time. And for a yogis means those who are doing this pranayama and asana meditation, all these practices, for them the breath in the two nostrils will be same rhythm. So our ultimate goal is to bring our breath a rhythmic and balanced in between the two nostrils. So once when you establish in the asana, you choose any one asana which is comfortable for you. Remember, whenever you are practicing the pranayama or a meditation, one important point we need to see in that asana, the spine, neck, head should be in a straight line. You cannot do the asana. So let me practice this Astavakra asana. So in the Astavakra asana, I will do the pranayama, which is not suggested. You can do meditation, but not the pranayama. So to practice the pranayama, remember your posture should be firm and comfort, and spine, neck, head should be in a straight line. This may be a question for you in the practical exam. While practicing the pranayama, what kind of asana we need to choose? So generally, what is the answer we will give? Padmasana, Sukhasana, Swastikasana, these kind of asanas names we will give. That is okay. But what is the specialty in that asana? The specialty is spine, neck, head in a straight line. That is a very, very important. So after establishing in that asana, then you change the direction of your breath. Here, Hatha Yoga Pradipika suggests your inhalation and exhalation, it is good if you can having the 1:2 ratio. You are inhaling for 4 counts and you are exhaling for the 8 counts. Or you inhale for the 5 counts, you exhale for the 10 counts. And under this pranayama, there are so many different types of pranayamas are given. Like a Anuloma Viloma, Chandra Beda, Surya Beda, Suryanuloma Viloma, Chandranuloma Viloma, Ujjayi, Plavani, and Shitali, Shitkari. There are so many different types of pranayamas are given, but Patanjali Maharshi is not discussing any of those types of pranayamas in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. And in the pranayama, there is one more point comes when we are discussing about the pranayama. The other point is kumbhaka. Affects the results of the pranayama will be more when you apply the kumbhaka. According to the Hatha Yoga textbooks. Without kumbhaka also you can practice the pranayama. Still you will get the benefits. But when you apply the kumbhaka, so it is going to be related to like a kundalini shakti can be raised. For normal pranayama, also benefits are there. But for a siddhas, if they want to gain some powers, like rising the kundalini and all these things, so they need to apply the kumbhaka. In Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Swatmarama says this pranayamas as a kumbhaka. Hence, he uses the one word Ashta Kumbhakas. And some people, those who don't know about the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and just they are practicing the inhalation and holding the breath and exhalation, again inhaling and holding the breath and exhaling, they know, oh, this inhalation exhalation is called pranayama. When we hold the breath, this is called kumbhaka. Holding the breath is called kumbhaka. And when we hear first time Ashta Kumbhakas, hey my God, how can we hold the Ashta Kumbhakas? 8 types of the Kumbhakas. Holding is only one thing, na? Just inhale or hold or exhale or hold. What is this 8 holdings? 8 holdings are nothing but, according to Hatha Yoga Pradipika, in every pranayama, you must practice the Kumbhaka. Hence, Swatmarama, there he says Ashta Kumbhakas. That is the idea. So don't get confused. Ashta Kumbhakas means sometimes I need to hold the nose, sometimes I hold something else, nothing. Every pranayama you apply the kumbhaka, that is the idea. Okay. So in Patanjali Yoga Sutras also, Patanjali Maharshi explains the 4 types of kumbhakas. Sutra number 50, if you look at Bahyabhyantara Stambha Vruttihi Desha Kala Sankhyabihi Paridrushto Dirgha Sukshmaha. You inhale and hold Antar Kumbhaka. One type of kumbhaka. Here Patanjali Maharshi is not given the names. He only says the numbers. The first type is you inhale and hold. Second type is you exhale and hold. And the third one is either you inhale little bit and hold or you exhale little bit and hold. That means in between inhalation you are holding or in between exhalation you are holding. That is the third. Then he says the fourth type, Bahyabhyantara Vishayakshepi Chaturthaha. This Chaturthaha takes care automatically. Automatic stoppage of the breath, which is called Chaturthi, and the technical name from the different source, which is called Kevala Kumbhaka. Kevala Kumbhaka means that which happens by default, by automatically. Example, when you are doing the meditation. So when you are seriously and very nicely you are established in the meditation, automatically breath stops. That is called automatic stoppage of the breath, which is called Kevala Kumbhaka, where you don't apply any external force. This is about the pranayama, but there are some benefits are there. In yesterday, I mentioned one of the benefit of practicing the pranayama. Can anyone tell me the answer?
Chitta prasadana.
Very good. Chitta prasadana. So pranayama also helps for the chitta prasadana, because this is a sutra literature. Once Patanjali Maharshi mentioned in the first chapter, he will not bring that sutra again here. So Through practice of the pranayama, we can gain the chitta prasadana. Prachardana vidharanam va pranasya was the sutra given in the first chapter. That is one of the benefit of the pranayama. Then second benefit, tataha kshiyate prakashavaranam. By the practice of pranayama, kshiyate means dissolves or disappears. Prakasha avaranam. Prakasha means light, avarana means covering. So that which is covered to our light, our knowledge, that cover will be removed by the practice of pranayama. A simple example, a sun is there, S-U-N, sun is there in the sky, and clouds comes in front of the sun, so we may not able to see the sun very clearly. So sun is covered by the clouds. That's what we use in our discussions. Or sun is covered by the clouds, or clouds are covered the sun. So when the breeze comes, the clouds goes away. The same way, by the pranayama, the light, inner light which is covered, that will be destroyed or removed. That is one of the benefit. Then one more benefit is given, number 53. Dharana sucha yogyata manasaha. So by the practice of pranayama, one gains the yogyata, eligibility to practice the dharana. So that means pranayama practice helps us to improve our concentration. So hence, whenever you sit for a meditation, if you do the pranayama first, then you can able to do the meditation better. And if you observe in our culture, see that this is a glory of the Indian culture. In Indian culture, when you are doing some puja, priest will ask, hold your nose. We don't know why we are holding the nose. There is a kind of ritual we need to do the pranayama. That is the idea. And priest will chant the Gayatri mantra. So you need to practice the pranayama along with the Gayatri mantra, so that your mind can be focused on the puja and whatever the ritual you are doing. That is the idea. So unfortunately, what is happening these days? And priest says, hold your nose. Sometimes we don't know whose nose we have to hold. We will hold the priest nose. The purpose is do the pranayama. Holding the nose means. So next time when you observe any ritual, if someone says hold the nose or touch your nose, not even holding the nose these days, they say just touch. Okay, finish. Pranayama is over. Result also will be same like that. Ishwar also says, okay, this is the one. Okay, over. In the advertisement, he will show nice Audi car. Okay, over. You got the Audi car, finished. You touched and leave. I am also showing in the advertisement and gone. Pranayama, so powerful. Through pranayama, we can come out from so many psychological disorders. But one more thing, please remember, if you practice the pranayama, all the diseases can be cured if you practice pranayama properly. And the next line, if you don't practice the pranayama properly, or if you do something wrong in the pranayama, all the diseases will come to you. According to Swatmarama Hadayoga Pradipika, pranayamena yuktena sarvaroga nivaranaha, pranayama ayuktena sarvaroga samudbhavaha. Even I have seen 20 years ago one person who became so fond of the pranayama. He used to practice pranayama irrespective of the time, place, situation, and finally he became a psychological patient. Of course, now he is all right, he is perfect. Everything was treated in a reverse method. But whenever you do the practice the pranayama, please be careful. Especially, I will give one hint. Any day after practicing the pranayama, on that day, if you are getting the headache, that means you are doing something wrong in your pranayama. Of course, headache may come with some other factors also may be there. So don't worry that if you get it only, not only because of the pranayama, but pranayama also may be one of the factor you might have been something wrong, especially when you do with the kumbhaka. If you don't use the kumbhaka, you getting the headache chance is very less. But if you practice the pranayama with kumbhaka and you are not doing properly, there is a cause for the disturbance in the flow. Some pressure will be created. All these things not to make you to scare, to make you to be perfect. That is the idea. So these are about the pranayama. This is about the pranayama. The fifth limb of the Bahiranga Yoga comes now. Pratyahara. Sutra number 54. Swa Vishaya Asamprayoge Chitta Swarupanukara Ivindriyanam Pratyaharaha. Our senses all the time trying to go towards their own objects. And we need to withdraw these senses from their objects. That is a pratyahara. Now let us look at this word by word. Pratyahara. So this pratyahara is a two words become one by Sandhi rule. What are the two words? Prati plus aharaha. Ahara means food. So prati aharaha means going away from the food. Prati means going away from the food. So pratyaharaha means going away from the food. That means, Srinivas, we should not eat food any day. We have to do fasting. Let us understand what is the food first. Food means is the object for our senses. Form, colors are there. This form and colors are the food for our eyes. Sound is the food for our ears. The smell is the food for our nose. So in that idea, you have to take. So pratyaharaha means our five senses all the time trying to go towards their own object. Eyes are trying to look at the objects, their forms and colors. Ears are not interested in the forms and colors. Ears will be interested only in the hearing the sound. Ear will not interfere in the function of the eyes, and nose will not interfere in the function of the ear. All the five senses will do their duties sincerely. And now we have to withdraw those senses from their objects and put into the inside. That is called pratyahara. Now here question comes. Okay, this is good. I can withdraw my senses from the sense objects. Where can I keep? For that, Bhagavan Sri Krishna gives the example in the Bhagavad Gita. Example is a turtle. Turtle are having the senses, the legs and hands and the head. Whenever there is a difficulty, this turtle will withdraw its limbs and keeps it under the shell. Now, what is the shell for us? Our self is the shell for us. So, withdraw your senses and divert towards your own self. This is called Antharmukha. One more Sanskrit word people call Antharmukhi or Antharmukha. Now, let us understand a little bit more here. When can these senses will receive the information? During this deep sleep, you are sleeping, your ears open, correct? Is there anyone putting something in the ears and sleeping? No. Okay, thank God, very good. So when you are sleeping with the ears open in deep sleep, but you don't know what is happening. If someone comes and makes some small sounds also, you don't know what is happening. But ears are open. Now why you are not able to hear? Because mind is not there behind the sense of hearing. So that means what is the pratyahara here? The pratyahara is withdraw the mind from your senses, divert that mind towards yourself. That is called pratyahara. So pratyahara, withdraw the senses from the sense objects, then divert the mind towards yourself. Automatically senses are withdrawn. This is about the pratyahara. What are the benefits if you practice the pratyahara? Sutra number 55, the last sutra of the second chapter, which says tataha parama vashyatendriyanam. Tataha, from that practice of pratyahara, parama, the highest, vashyata means mastery, indriyanam, over the senses. So one will gain the mastery over the senses. So I would like to give one small, a simple technique for the practice the pratyahara. I used to work in a school, so there I used to teach this technique of pratyahara to the school going children. Of course, in our camps and other times also, we make them to do pratyahara practice. It is very simple. Take a chocolate, keep in your mouth, don't bite. And you ask all the children, keep the chocolate in your mouth. Like a chocolate means not this a dairy milk chocolate. You know, in India, we used to have this like a peppermint, like a Halls kind of things, Halls menthol, like a Halls and Vicks peppermint kind of thing is there, na? That kind of thing. You give the children, tell them to keep it in your mouth, don't bite. And look at our own example. How many of you, when we keep something in our mouth, like a peppermint, how long we can hold that one? Just we'll keep a couple of seconds there. If you want to develop the pratyahara, keep a chocolate in your mouth, don't bite. Let it melt by its own time, in its own time. And in the Ramakrishna Mutt, there was a Swami, is no more, long ago. That Swami used to keep the sugar on the tongue, it will not melt. Full control over the tongue. Afterwards also sugar will be there as it is. That is the mastery over the senses. So we may not be able to do that much, but at least keep a chocolate, don't bite. And this is there is experiment was done on this one. I don't remember the names, a Good Millen or something is there. They have done so much experiment on the children. The children who are biting this chocolate, and once they grown up, their mind is not stable. They are everything want to, like a instant frustration, so much frustration if it is not happening, no patience. But the children who is holding the chocolate in the mouth, not without any bite, they are having the so much patience and they become more successful in their life. Because the patience is there, control over is there. So you can also implement not only with your children, with your own self. So keep some chocolate in your mouth and don't bite. And see how long you can able to hold. One of the simple technique for the pratyahara. And you know that you are having the chocolate in the mouth and you are not supposed to bite. Okay, so with this we can conclude this Bahiranga yoga of the Ashtanga yoga. Again, Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ तत्सत्। ओम थैंक यू।